This time.
Apparently, it's noon here on the East Coast. And this is Thursday, June 9th, and this is news that you can use from YAA with your dear friend and co-host today, Ray and Phil, because
Guys.
my son Zach is going on vacation.
He is.
Yeah, I don't know who
He is.
signed off on that.
I mean, let's just say he needs it, right? He needs a break. We will give it to him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he can use the break. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes. So Phil, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic.
Oh, well, I am so glad to hear that, and I am so glad that you're here sharing today's events with me.
I am too. Thank you for having me.
Well, there wasn't anybody else to be had, Phil. So no, I'm kidding. No, you've always been kind enough and gracious enough to do it, and we really do appreciate it.
Sure.
I thought we'd start the show off with that news out of Europe that the European Union has continued their ban of new ICE vehicles starting in 2035. I'll share my screen so that everybody can see this. EU lawmakers sustain the ban on new internal combustion engine cars by 2035. So what that means, if I know how to read, and I'm not sure that I do, what that means, I believe, is that once you hit the year 2035, you will not be able to buy a internal combustion engine car in Europe.
That's how I read it.
Okay, but you will be able to continue driving your internal combustion engine cars that you bought prior to that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, the lawmakers
and what did they say? They're pretty much saying they actually changed it. They had it at 100%, but now they are looking to vote on 90%.
And they wanted to vote on cutting it to 90%, and that vote failed, which is why they have affirmed that starting in 2035 there won't be any automobile manufacturers in Europe that will be able to offer internal combustion engine vehicles as new cars. They will be able to continue to sell them as used cars.
Right. But the new cars, not so much.
No.
Ray, what do you think about this coming to our side of the world?
Well, you know how I feel about EVs. I live in a condo. I don't have any place to charge the damn thing. They'd find me God knows how much a month if I threw an extension cord out my balcony. So I got to figure out how I stop sharing my screen here. You'd think I'd remember, but I don't. I don't want to share anymore. Did I stop sharing?
Yeah.
I stopped
sharing.
You did. Okay,
you did.
Cool. So God, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about it. Okay.
I can tell you that I'm gonna miss my ICE cars. Look, EVs are great, and I know that they're the wave of the future, but I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna miss the ICE car.
I mean, EVs are like faster off the line.
They truly are. That instant torque. I mean, it's exhilarating to kind of say the least. I've been in a few of them.
Yes, but man, you know what I've decided? I'm getting too old to really care about some of this stuff. I guess I assume that at a certain point in time, it'll be great that there's mostly electric vehicles in this country and in the world. But I'm with you. I guess I grew up driving ICE vehicles.
Yeah.
I still drive an ICE vehicle. I have no desire to have a plug-in vehicle of some type. It's just
I think once the infrastructure is really in place, I think it'll be easier to swallow and easier to have an EV. For me, anyway.
I'll take your word.
I'm still going to miss the ICE car.
Yeah,
Looking
I
to miss it.
just, perhaps there were other ways that we could go. I mean, I know in California, Toyota and with the hydrogen fuel cell
Mm,
vehicles, um,
yeah,
that seems to me to make a little more sense. But if there's no infrastructure, there's hardly any infrastructure for it in California. But there's no infrastructure for EVs. And I mean, there was an article, and I didn't include it in today's show because I sent it
okay.
to Justin for plugged in
Hmm.
about how the government needs to mandate how these charging stations operate and how they work, and that there has to be some rules and regulations about them.
Sure.
When you read about these various charging stations, so many of them, if you go to them, they don't work.
Correct.
The chargers are out of operation for whatever reason. Um,
Sure. And they're such limit, they're limited. And there's from what I've seen or read about, larger wait times, right? To be able to get your vehicle charged. And I know that there are the fast chargers, and I think that's a great idea. Justin even alluded to the fact that it's not necessarily good to do the fast charging
I was
on your EVs, right?
I
So
was going to say that degrades the battery faster
it does.
by doing the fast charging. So I guess if you own an EV, at least in my mind, if I owned an EV, I'd have to start doing some math and say to myself, well, how much quicker will the battery degrade if I keep doing fast charging? Um, and will I be replacing the battery that could cost up to $20,000? Will I
Right.
be replacing that in 5 years as opposed to 10 years? Or am I better off, I don't know, spending an hour, eating a bad lunch somewhere, charging the car, and prolonging the life of the battery? I,
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you?
I mean, as long as they're going to, I mean, if these batteries do go bad from continuously fast charging, I mean, as long as the manufacturers are going to stand behind it
Yeah,
and replace the batteries if they are prematurely going bad, um, I mean, I guess there's not that much of an issue, but there's the hassle, right, of needing to get that fixed or needing to take care of it. Um, I know it's all going to happen. I know that the infrastructure is going to get there. I know the technologies on batteries are making some leaps and bounds, and I think they're going to get there with it. Um, but me, I still like my ice cars, but I think it's going to be great to see EVs when they finally, when we have the infrastructure.
I agree with you. I just had to pop this up on the screen. Apparently, Justice
Zach's
did
here.
something, and my son, God bless him, thanked Justice for doing whatever it is that he did. But I'm thinking to myself, damn it, Zach, you're supposed to be on vacation,
Right.
okay? You don't need to be watching this crap. You need to be spending time with Laura, okay, and getting ready for the big trip, okay. So if you want to stay on, stay on, but I don't think it's necessary. Now I don't know how to take you off the damn thing.
Oh no.
Uh, Maybe if I hit hide.
There you
That's
go.
it.
You
Okay,
did it.
I'm learning. Um,
How about we talk about Farley?
well, we could talk about Farley. Um, I need to share my screen for this.
Okay.
Let's see if I can still do this. This will make Zach proud, I'm sure. Um, Ford trolls Tesla with the F-150 Lightning accessory, even if the CEO, who happens to be named Jim Farley, says it's not trolling. So
Hmm.
apparently, with the Lightning, you can charge other things. You could even run enough electricity for your house off of the Lightning. So what Ford has done is they've included the converter that you need, the correct plug, so that if God forbid you found a Tesla on the road dead, you could
Hmm.
stop your Lightning and offer that Tesla owner a charge. Um, and some are suggesting that, well, Jim Farley's actually trolling Tesla and trolling Elon Musk. What do you think?
I think he absolutely is. Come on. I mean, first, to be able to come out and say, like, specifically, hey, we can charge your Tesla. I mean, he's going to be certainly very, I guess the better word would be to say proud of that, and to, you know, definitely put that into Elon's, face, that, hey, if there's a Tesla on the side of the road, we can assist. We can be the good Samaritan for the Tesla owners.
I'm trying to figure out who has the bigger ego. Is it Jim Farley or is it Elon Musk? I know who has the bigger bank account.
We do know who has the bigger bank
Okay.
account.
And his bank account might be shrinking a little bit because of what's going on with the stock market. But
Sure.
who's got the bigger ego here? I mean, why is it that suddenly Jim Farley thinks he has to match wits with Elon Musk? When he's running a company that can't even seem to produce a quality car in a number of cases.
Sure. I mean, look, this Lightning's a really big deal, right? And its capability and its ability to, I mean, look, it can charge a house, right?
Yes.
I mean, it can, there's some good things about this. And he needs to put it in Elon's face, because look, he's targeting Elon, right? I mean, he wants to become the next Tesla.
Well, apparently every manufacturer wants to become the next Tesla. Maybe they should just let Tesla be Tesla and let Ford figure out how to be a better Ford manufacturer, and GM how to figure out how to get better being the General Motors manufacturers, and put their egos aside and work on quality and quality control. I mean, you're old enough to remember, Phil, when Ford changed their slogan at one time to where quality is job one. Well, it's like everybody's still waiting for him to start that job.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that in the last, I would say 5-8 years, their quality has gotten a bit better than what their history says, right? I've owned a couple of Fords. Their quality is good, but I get what you're saying, is that let's stop the bickering. Let's get together and produce a good quality product that's going to be better for the consumer. And let's focus on trying to figure out how we can do this economically and put this in someone's driveway at a reasonable cost,
and have the launches be successful.
Yes.
I would suggest that Ford has had issues over the last several years. Every time they relaunch a vehicle, they had issues with the Expedition relaunch. They had issues with the Bronco launch. Hell, they're still having issues with the Bronco launch.
Yeah, they are.
They've had issues with the Maverick launch. They've had issues with the Lightning launch. I mean, the Broncos are troubled with some catastrophic engine failures. They had the roof issues. It's like, don't worry about what Tesla's doing. Worry about what you're doing and how to actually launch a vehicle successfully and at the highest quality level attainable.
I mean, it's definitely obvious that quality control is not at their forefront. They just want to get the product out, and then they'll deal with whatever is going to come out of it as it comes up. But that can be detrimental to a brand if they can't figure it out on the first go around.
Yeah. I saw a comment in here. Somebody wanted to know, did somebody from Ford touch me in a bad place? Well, no, they didn't.
Yeah.
I just keep reading all the articles. And so I guess that's my dilemma with Ford. It's and it's not just my dilemma with Ford, it's my dilemma with most of the manufacturers. And you hit the nail on the head. They rush to market, and then they worry about what the issues are going to be after the cars hit the market.
And this is not specific to Ford. I mean,
No.
this happens with all of them, right? It just happens to be that, Farley is just, getting out there, right? He's making himself known. So obviously, you're going to get a lot more news around that, and a lot more focus on what he's doing.
I can tell you that when I was with BMW and Mini, that literally we had some Mini launches that, as the cars were coming into the dealerships, okay, at the same time they were arriving, so was the stop sale notice for Mini that there was an issue with the damn car and you couldn't sell it. Okay. Which is the perfect example of rushing something to the market without actually testing it to make sure that it meets the quality standards that you've set for your product. And if you don't do that, then what you're really saying to the public is, we have no quality standards. Okay. And you are going to be the guinea pigs, and you're going to pay top dollar to be the guinea pig. And I'm just thinking, well, there's got to be a better way for all the manufacturers. So if I seem to be picking on Ford, well, they're the ones that have been having the most issues recently. And so I apologize for that. But they need, like everybody else needs, to do a better job. So rather than bashing somebody, Phil, and I apparently am getting really good at that, perhaps we should share a success story from our community. So I'm going to share my screen, and as my son would say, wait for it. Here we go. This is from Janil. I can't pronounce his last name, so we'll just call him Janil. Who purchased a 2022 Kia EV6 at MSRP with, here's the kicker, without visiting the dealership. Phil, I'll let you handle it from here.
Yeah, I mean, look, he handled the entire negotiation over a 2-day period over the phone. I want to say real quick, like, our email templates are fantastic, and they're appropriate. But there are times when picking up the phone call and doing your entire negotiation can be positive.
Yes.
And it can get the deal done rather quickly. And I'm going to say, in this market, getting something done quickly rather than waiting on something, you might lose an opportunity. So Janil, he pretty much looked at a dealership, a dealership in California. And mind you, this is Kia. So this is like one of the one of the most difficult brands to try to get a car at MSRP. Yes. And on top of it, it's an EV6, right?
Yes.
So, okay. So he calls one dealership. They want a paint protection of $1,500. He calls another one in Salt Lake City. They want $2,000. Managers are not really they're not working with them. Nothing like that. So what he does, he starts playing the dealerships against each other, which is what we try to help folks realize, that the more quotes you get, the more you can start leveraging those against each of the dealers.
Exactly.
So now he's able to leverage a deal with his local dealership to get, well, first it starts off by getting $750 off of that added package. But he used the idea of saying, hey, I'll finance with you. Will you remove it entirely? So now this negotiation comes to say, hey, I'm willing to let you guys have something, but you need to sell this to me at MSRP, and they're going to make the money on the loan.
Sure.
So it's a win-win for both. Congrats to Janil for getting this EV6 at sticker and using his knowledge that he gained from us to be able to negotiate this and have power in his deal. Great job. Great job.
He did what the dealership is supposed to do, which is try and find a compromise that can work for everybody. as long as I was in the car business, I realized early on that it needed to be a collaborative effort. You needed to find some type of common ground so that it was good for everybody. Um, he didn't necessarily have to finance through the dealer, but he allowed the dealer to save some face and make back some of the money that they would have made on the protection package,
Right.
um, by financing with them for 6 months. They won't get a charge back for the 100% of it,
Hmm.
so they're going to make some money. They're happy. He's happy. Um, that's the way it should be.
It,
Uh,
I absolutely agree. But knowing that you can go in and doing that is power. And that's where we come into play to help people realize that they have this option, that can help save them money in the transaction.
Yes, and I can't thank you and Justice and Mario and Kimberly and everybody enough for all that you folks do to help walk people through this process so that even in these tough times, deals can be found.
They can be found and they're happening every day.
Thank God for that. Not as often as we would like, not as many times during the course of the day as we would like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
But
yep.
if you're willing to invest some time,
You
effort,
have
and
to work
energy,
at it. Have to work at it.
yes, yes, and
Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's the way it
and
is.
and if you're like me, you don't really want to work that hard anymore. But if you're younger than me, then you should have the desire to be able to work that hard and
Sure,
save some money. I
absolutely.
if it's okay with you, Phil, I thought we would change topics to a degree because I saw something interesting, and I'm going to share my screen. Um, where there's this joint partnership, an EV partnership between Sony and Honda that could end up with a new brand for both companies.
Yep.
Sony and Honda want to work together through a third company at arm's reach in order to help develop the software, the infotainment systems, the drivetrains. Um, and I know we're all thinking to ourselves, well, don't we just need another new EV brand out there? Uh,
Yeah,
and the answer to that is probably not. But if you can take two major players in two different aspects of of um, of manufacturing, with Sony in the entertainment end of things, and with Honda in the automotive
mhm,
manufacturing end of things, and and these are two really well respected
absolutely.
brands
Yep.
internationally. You would think that should be a winner.
I think it I think it will be. Um, Honda obviously can make great vehicles, right?
Yes,
Reliable, great vehicles. They've got that. They know how to do that. Well, now you got Sony, large tech company,
yes,
um, that can come in and fill in the gap that maybe Honda doesn't really want to deal with. You know, they can come together and hopefully make a great product. Um, I could see some very good potential with this. Now, on the other side, I see, well, who's another big tech company that wants to build a car?
would that be Apple?
Right. So now I'm starting to think, well, who are they going to which manufacturer is going to step up and want to team up with them to build a car? Um, but no, I mean, I see this as a good thing for Honda.
I think those two brands coming together, those two iconic brands coming together, could conceivably produce a vehicle of higher quality and standards than perhaps
Mhm.
some of the other manufacturers out there.
Agreed.
The hope is that they are able to bring their first EVs to market by 2025, um, which, when you think about it, that's just 2.5 years away.
It
um,
really is. Yeah.
yes, so it doesn't give them a lot of time to accomplish this. But if they were able to do it, that would be a remarkable feat. Um, and I don't know. I happen to own a lot of Sony products, so God knows, maybe I could be in on that. I don't know.
I was a big fan of Sony. If you remember the days of the Trinitron
I do.
TVs, right?
I
They
do.
were like that was the TV to get,
Yes.
and their receivers
Yes.
also they were a big deal too. But I mean, I think for Honda, this is going to be a good play for them.
And and Honda, realistically, is a little late in getting into the EV space. Um,
Correct.
they've kind of dabbled a little bit, but they've never really, they're so into racing,
Yeah,
and they're so into ice engines, that they've never really taken a lot of interest in EVs, and they realize, like everybody else, that EVs are
it's
unfortunately
going to
the
be the
future.
future.
A-
Yep.
and I think this could be a good collaboration between two iconic brands that could really produce something meaningful. One would
Well, yeah, correct. And as you said, Honda's kind of late to the game with it, and to get up to speed with where everyone else is at, they kind of need this. But I still think it's going to be good for
Honda
for them together.
Honda occasionally is late to the game a few times. And the reason I say that is, I was with Acura when the MDX came out. And Acura is Honda. I mean, let's
Yep.
face it. And the deal was at that time that the Honda dealers got the S2000 sports car, which was
Oh
originally
yes.
that was originally supposed to be an Acura. Okay.
Oh
But
really?
yes,
Okay.
but the trade-off was that the Acura brand got the big SUV, the
Okay.
three-row SUV. And I remember when the MDX came out, and everybody already had a crossover or an SUV of some kind, and
Sure.
the head marketing guy or vice president of manufacturing, whatever he was at the time, his rationale was, he said, if you're gonna show up late to the party, show up with a really good date.
Mm.
And the MDX was a big hit.
Yeah.
They were late to the party, but the date that they showed up with was such a stunner,
Hmm.
that it just captured everybody's imagination. So I guess they're hoping that they can do the same again,
That's what I'm
teaming up
thinking.
with Sony. Um,
Yep.
well,
Sony's going to be their big date.
it should be. We're coming up on close to a half an hour, and I know there was another success story that
There
that
is.
that we wanted to share, because we're trying to include some positivity in every show these days. So I'll share my screen one more time. Um, and this is a from W Carter 4675, from a day ago, and this is a long story, but Phil, I'll let you do the synopsis, if you may, if
Sure,
you would.
sure. So, looks like this gentleman's name is Warren, and I actually had an opportunity to be able to speak with him, and I think Justice did as well, to help him through this. But obviously, he didn't need a truck, but he did find one, and it he talks about how the dealership is looking to get him in a payment.
Yes.
What kind of payment do you want, right? Well, once you tell them a payment, they can basically manipulate the deal to however they see fit, as long as it falls in your payment
Yeah,
area.
your payment comfort zone.
Correct,
Yes.
correct. So he goes back back and forth with the salespeople and the managers, and tries to get nitro air off, and he sticks to his guns, right? He keeps on going back and forth, especially when it comes to the payment. And I like what he said. He said he would let his credit score decide his payment.
I
So
I like that.
obviously that means he understands what the buy rate is. He
Yes.
understands where his payment's going to settle. Um, when he gets into finance, they present him with a 5.99% interest rate with a credit score over 800. But he knew better, right? Because he came to us. He got knowledge. he already had in his back pocket a credit union approval at 1.99. So this here again goes to show that coming prepared,
Yes,
coming with a background of what you need to be talking about when you're in the finance manager or in the finance office is going to get you the best deal. So anyway, he ends up getting a pretty good deal here. It is at it looks like it was close to MSRP, but the more important was how much he saved on his loan.
it all goes back to, Phil, if I may,
Mhm.
applying the knowledge that we share with people.
Yes,
That's the key. If we can talk till we're blue in the face, or as I would say, as blue as my t-shirt.
sure.
But if we, as a customer, if you don't understand how to apply what it is that we're talking about, how to apply that knowledge, then it's just been wasted conversation, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
right.
um it's imperative that we share the knowledge, and then we help walk people through how to apply that knowledge. uh
Hmm.
you, Justice, Mario, Kimberly, you do that day in and day out.
We do.
Uh, you save people thousands upon thousands of dollars each day. Um,
Yes,
it's it's doable.
it's doable. It is. It is.
It is,
Absolutely.
yes. And you know, if I had a word of advice for people out there that are looking at cars, that want to get a car, don't get discouraged. Don't give up. As Jim Valvano said, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Okay.
Hmm.
You keep making those phone calls. You keep sending out those emails. You keep contacting the coaches at YAA, and we'll help you improve, if we can, the deals that you're being offered. We'll help
Absolutely.
guide you, especially through our dealer reviews, to
Yes,
the dealerships that aren't charging over MSRP. They are out there. It's doable.
it
Um,
is.
yeah.
You
So
just got to do the work, and you have to. With this specific one with Warren, this is all about knowing your credit, coming in with that knowledge. Once
yes,
you have that, I mean, you have power with that.
yes, yes. And speaking of credit, if I may, on
Yes,
tomorrow's show, tomorrow's
special
Friday.
show.
It's a special show tomorrow. It's not going to be as much about news that you can use. It's techniques that you can use tomorrow. Kimberly Klein, the F&I goddess herself, and Phil will be joining me tomorrow for a discussion on um, how banks look at approving deals and how finance people work at getting deals approved, and the importance of knowing terms and jargon and lingo, and the inner workings of all that. Phil used to be, for those of you who don't know, used to be a buyer at Ford Motor Credit. Kimberly,
Yes,
for those of you who don't know, was a finance manager for 15 years. Um, and we think we're going to be able to offer people some insights to peel back the onion tomorrow with a spirited conversation about
yes,
how all that flows.
and
Uh,
how the relationships with between the buyers and the finance managers uh, cultivate good deals, or
yes,
can.
yes, absolutely. And I see a question here from John Sapola. Ray and Zach, hey, will there be a show on Saturday? I'll be damned if I know. My son hasn't told me anything, uh, and he's not doing it for sure because I won't let him, because he's on vacation. So I don't know if there'll be a show Saturday night. We haven't talked about it, but there'll be a show tomorrow at noon. With more news that you can use from YAA. And I want to thank Phil again for, well, filling in,
You're welcome.
and for being a big part of what we're trying to do here. And in the meantime,
I love
I,
doing it.
Well, we love having you. And in the meantime, we'll see you all back here again tomorrow at noon for more news that you can use. Bye bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Everybody.
I'm hitting that end broadcast button. Let's see what